All right, welcome to our conversation today about how to make $20,000 or more a month selling insurance. And I'm here today with Jason Boyd, who's an experienced life insurance agent and agency owner, as well as many other agents who are in the field right now, mostly in the areas of life and health. And we're here to have an interactive discussion on this topic. We're going to start off with Jason and I going through a few questions that we've prepared and give you some background as well. And then we'll open it up to everyone else as well. If you have any questions, take note of those. You'll have a chance to ask your questions directly to Jason and myself. And then as well, we'll walk you through some of the marketing that we've been doing online for insurance as well. All right, so with that, I will invite Jason to join me on camera. How are you doing today, Jason? You might be on mute.
My apologies. How's that?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Anyway, how are you?
Doing great. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. So we can start off, Jason. Maybe just give everyone a brief introduction for yourself and tell everyone what you've been up to and how what's been your involvement in the field.
Yeah. So probably back in about 2000 and let's say I think it was 2017. I got my life and health license, and a friend of mine had just started in the business, opened an agency of his own, and so I decided to kind of work with him, and didn't know a lot about selling life insurance. I had sold other things, but so then I created my own agency that was under him, and worked kind of side by side with him, and then also on my own. And we started hiring agents, ended up scaling the business quite a bit over about a 3 to 4 year period. So I was mostly doing final expense and mortgage protection. So I didn't really do Medicare or other types of like long-term care. So saw it, and I had really good training, from him, as well as others in the industry that I had come across, and just got my hands on a lot of good pieces of information to help grow your business. And one of those was also meeting Munir and understanding how to create your own advertising and kind of take more control over the marketing side, because we were just using outside vendors primarily. And so I wanted to have a little more control over my lead quality. And that's it.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, can you speak to some of the results that you had in your agency, both like on the whole and also for individual agents?
Yeah, I mean, so I was part of a bigger agency, just because of my my friend had started it, and so we ended up scaling to, first we were just selling, and then I started to hire agents, and we ended up scaling to really, really quickly. I mean, we were probably at a certain point, hiring 10 people a month in the agency, and then it kind of grew from there and scaled even faster. And while at the same time, just offering training. I mean, I would have like in my office, I would have training sessions for new agents, and kind of set up the game plan for them, because a lot of agents would want they'd come in and they'd have some insurance knowledge, but they wouldn't know how to run the schedule and like how to really use like Facebook marketing and other digital marketing to speed up the pace at which they're growing their business. So a lot of people would just kind of tap their warm market, and that would kind of that wouldn't last very long. And so, digital marketing was the key to being able to grow rapidly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, awesome. All right, so the topic at hand today is how to make $20,000 per month selling insurance, right? And so can you speak to that topic a little bit, and then as well, like break that down? Like, how would you go about breaking down that? Because obviously there's a lot of moving parts in that goal, right? But in general, I guess maybe first question about that is like, how realistic is that? And then, how would you break down that question?
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously everyone's different. So when you talk about a number like 20,000 a month, I mean, for some people it was, 5,000 a month was unachievable, but I saw people who did much better than that. And so when we talk about a number like 20,000, it really comes down to a math equation of the amount of ads that you have. So purchasing a certain amount of leads consistently every single week. We would typically be in the field 4 days a week, and then you'd have maybe 2 days where you would actually set your appointments. And so setting appointments, being in the field for a couple of days, and then taking another day, setting appointments, and then being in the field another couple of days, you were able to consistently probably have about eight or 9 appointments per day on the days you were in the field. And, if to be really conservative, let's say, half of those were no-shows, then, you'd sit with 4 people, maybe 5 if you're lucky, and close 2 of them. And that was just sort of a pretty standard number that I saw. Some did better, some not as well, just especially if they were new. It was, there was a little bit of a learning curve, but those numbers were pretty consistent across the board, week after week. If you made sure that you did have a proper lead flow, then it was really a consistent goal to have. So you'd be closing probably 8 like final expense sales per week. So if the average sale was in the neighborhood of, let's just say, depending on the area you're in, it's $500, that would be gross $4,000 in a week. Maybe slightly less if you were had some smaller policies, so maybe worst case maybe 3,500, and your lead cost in that range was going to be around $750 for the week. And so some markets are a little pricier, some are a little cheaper, and also just depends on other factors as well. But like that was a really good return. The margins were good. I mean, you're spending $750 to make between $3,500 and $4,000. And then if you, so that would equal about $16,000 if you over a 4-week period. And then if you did add in mortgage protection, there's an additional cost of, let's say, anywhere from $1,000 to $2,000, depending on how many of those leads you want, because they are pretty expensive. You easily be able to probably get another 2 sales out of that at, maybe a $2,000 mark. So that would put you at about 4,000 in mortgage leads, and those are fairly conservative numbers, I would say, from what I saw. And so that would put you at about the $20,000 mark. And so you'd be spending in the neighborhood of $750 a week for final expense, and maybe another $300-400 a week if you were doing mortgage expense.
Got it.
And yeah, and that was a pretty consistent equation if you did have leads coming in every week.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, and the way I look at that too is like, we have this sort of conversation because I speak to a lot of agents, and some have that goal, like 20, like kind of $20,000 range, but I would say a lot more would be happy with closer to 10.
Sure.
And are actually targeting, those that are starting out are more looking at like, in the 5,000 range net.
Right.
But the way I look at it too is when we have these conversations and we walk through it and we do these sort of coaching calls and whatnot, I kind of see it like giving motivation. And it's kind of like, the 4-minute mile. Roger Bannister ran the 4-minute mile in 1954, and nobody had done it for thousands. I mean, for the whole history of humanity, nobody had been able to run faster than 4 minutes, right? A mile faster than 4 minutes until he did it. And then that's the very same year, so many other people did it. And since then, over almost 2,000 people have been able to run a mile in 4 minutes. So it's just kind of the same thing where when we show what's possible and how achievable it is and what you can do when you kind of have a system and a way to reach that goal, it makes it accessible to more agents.
Right. And like you said, I mean, if you're $20,000 is, I mean, it's a good amount of money per month. So not everyone has that as their target, or at least not in the very beginning. So if you just cut all of everything in half, the amount of leads that you're buying, and you could run sort of a half schedule and probably make 10,000, right? Just by cutting everything in half, because you're really only buying the leads that you're going to use, right? So if you're buying, if you're buying 50 to 60 leads per week, I mean, you 10,000, like, it shouldn't be an impossible goal at all to get there. And that's if you have any, experience at all. I mean, even some of the new people, with that amount of lead flow can do that. I've seen people in their first couple of weeks in the business, do well beyond that. And really surprising me, like how, because they just had so many leads that it was just numbers at that point. And then as they got better and understood how to sell better and understood the products better, then they did a lot better than that. Or they were able to kind of cut back on the lead cost because they didn't need as many leads.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Absolutely. Yeah. Let's take a moment and talk about kinds of insurance. So I think you touched on it a bit, but which kinds of insurance would you think would be better for this sort of goal, or maybe speak to the economics behind different kinds of insurance?
Yeah, so I can pretty much just speak to the final expense and mortgage insurance aspect. I mean, I know I've not done any other types of Medicare and sort of long-term care, but this model, especially with the digital marketing, like with the Facebook ads, and it really is built for final expense and mortgage. Well, actually not mortgage protection, because that's done typically through through mailers. But for final expense, it's really the bread and butter. It's pretty much it's what you would want to use to generate a significant amount of leads, and for the cheapest amount possible. So yeah, I would say just the numbers that I'm talking about really apply to finally having probably an 80-20 mix, where you have 80% final expense, 20% mortgage protection. You should easily be able to hit those numbers if you're, if you have the right amount of leads.
Yeah.
So just like, you don't need to do with those numbers, you don't need annuities. And I mean, there were people that were doing annuities and making a lot more money, but that's a bit of a different, you're not necessarily advertising for annuities. You would sell annuities to your mortgage clients, or, clients that you're already seeing for other purposes.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, if you have that training as well, it's just, you'll do even better.
Yeah. And maybe, obviously you did a lot of research into the business and whatnot. And, why was it that you kind of settled in on final expense as your bread and butter?
I think just because it's, the learning curve was definitely faster. And also it was also because of the marketing, because I knew that it was something that I could use digital marketing for, and blanket, a certain demographic quite easily. And that it was an economical way to start your business. And that, later on, branching out into other areas was definitely good. But for most people, they were all starting out in final expense and then moving on to other things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can comment a bit more on that too. So I guess, especially with final expense, the return on investment, the way that we do it, and like, including what we charge and what Facebook charges and whatnot, it ends up being around a 6 to 7 times return on investment. Like, you put in 3,000 something, you can get back 20,000. With some other lines of insurance, that return on investment might not be so high. But what I've also seen, though, is that the referrals are maybe higher in other, and also the the residuals can also be higher as well. So
yeah,
it can balance out in other ways. So some people who maybe don't want to sell final expense, or they don't like selling that kind of insurance, it's still, I think the online marketing can still work, just not maybe as much upfront revenue, but then there's more referral and residual income perhaps.
Right. Yeah, and that's why we did a mix, right, of final expense and mortgage, because your, final expense paid a lot of bills, and then when you had a mortgage client that turned into, an annuity or a referral, like you said, then you really start seeing the numbers go way up. And so, yeah, your return is over a longer period and the numbers are much bigger, but it's nice to also have the consistent income as well. Mm-hmm. With final expense.
Yeah. All right. Well, yeah, speaking to that, the long-term part. So what can you talk about building relationships with clients, and what would you tell your agents about that? Like how to get referrals and foster that relationship?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing is just obviously to do the best you can for the client that you're sitting with, and to make sure that they feel like you really care about them, and they're not just another sale for you. So that always went a long way, just taking extra care of the person that you're sitting with. And then once you have helped them, and you can tell that they see the value in what you've provided for them, then I would just you could ask for a referral. You could ask, is there anyone else who might benefit from this. And a lot of times that would get them thinking, and you would end up with a referral. And also just staying in contact with them. So you're reaching out periodically to make sure they don't have any questions, and just trying to be kind of visible, right? So it's easy when you're talking to so many people to just kind of move on to the next person and not go back and talk to the people you've already spoken with. But there's a huge amount of value in the people you've already helped, and they're usually very good advocates for you if they're satisfied with the product.
Absolutely. Yeah. And another big component of hitting those sort of numbers is staying organized, right?
Yeah.
Especially as you start to scale. So what suggestions do you have on that?
Yeah, I mean, the key is the consistency, and that's where I had difficulties sometimes when dealing with certain vendors. They were reliable for a while, and then they weren't reliable. And so the key is having a process that you repeat every week, and you don't deviate from that. And to get the best results, just that repetition is essential. And so having the right amount of leads, coming in at the right time, making sure that your call days are for calling, booking all your leads first before attending to other issues that may arise, because you might have an issue with an underwriter or whatever, and you have to deal with that. But you should call them after you've booked your schedule, because if you don't have enough people booked on your run days, then you're just not going to get the results that you expect. And so that always comes number one. And so managing your CRM and lead flow, would everything else just sort of works out if you're able to do that.
Awesome. Yeah, and you were talking about consistency, right? And consistency of lead sources. And I think that's a good segue. That'll be a good segue into our conversation in a moment about creating your own Facebook marketing system, right? Because of what we've often talked about with lead vendors is that they can be good for a while, and then for whatever reason they dry up over time. But if you have your own Facebook marketing system and you have control and visibility over the whole process, what the ads look like, what the targeting is like, then you have a lot more control over how the leads are being generated, right? Rather than it just being a black box of, I got some leads, I don't know what went into it. Yeah. I mean, did you have that experience a lot sometimes where you'd have a vendor and they were good for a while, and then?
Yeah, it seemed to happen all the time. I mean, they were reliable for a period of time, and then I think they get market saturation, and the same ads go out in the same markets, and then I don't have control over the ad, so I don't really know what's in the ad. So sometimes as the agent, they refer to your ad and you don't know what's in it, and that's kind of embarrassing, and you kind of don't know how to approach it, and you don't know exactly what they're saying. And so you may get prospective clients that think they're getting something that they're not getting, and then it just makes it a lot harder for you as the agent to deal with leads like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And the language, I guess, can make a big difference as well, right? So for example, like in terms of the quality, so if we're being upfront that we're talking about insurance, that will generate a much higher quality lead than if the ad says, we'd like to tell you about a government sponsored burial plan, and it doesn't mention the word insurance. So that language is quite common in the industry. A way of like being ambiguous about it, and that might get you more leads and cheaper leads, but then the lead quality isn't as high because the prospect was not informed what they gave their contact information for.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. And so, lead vendors can switch that around, so they might end up at first have a very targeted, ad, and then over time, reduce that.
Mhm.
So I want to take a moment and open it up for people to ask questions as well. Yeah. So who would like to go first? Any questions from the audience? You just go ahead and put yourself off mute.
Oh,
So I'm currently purchasing some leads through a lead generator. And they seem to be panning out pretty well because they're focused just on sending me leads for life insurance. So I've found that that's a little bit better than some of the other ones out there that are just focused on any insurance. And theirs are pretty inexpensive. It's like $18 a lead.
hmm
Okay. Yeah. And thank you, Monique. Did you have a question as well?
Yeah, when you were purchasing your leads, did you find any agency that was better than another? Because I've just found this one that's worked so far and didn't know if maybe there was another one out there that you saw more benefit with.
In my experience, it would change. So, I could answer that question this week, and then I might have a different opinion next week. So they may be consistent for a while, and it's, I don't know if that's 2 weeks or 5 months. And then what I found is, over time, they would become less, I guess the quality would just sort of decline. And so I'm not saying that that will happen to you with the current lead vendor, but I just felt that like having control over my own leads was better for me. But they, it's hard to tell because I've had great experiences and they didn't always last. But I did have periods of time where the leads were good and then they just seemed to not be as good as time went on.
That's really great information. Thank you. Because if it's good now and then it starts to get bad, it's good to know that, like, hey, you should probably cut it off.
Mhm.
Try something else.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that there aren't good lead vendors. They're good. It's what I found is when they are really good, they tend to get a lot of new clients because agents talk about them, and then that may be a reason why the quality starts to go down. It's because now they're serving too many people in a certain area. They saturate the market, and it's not really their fault. But when you're putting out so much of the same content, then what happens is they either have to raise their prices or the quality has to suffer. And so usually what happens is the quality goes down. So, and it's just hard to tell how long they'll remain consistent. And it just, you'll know, 1 week to the next, it'll just seem different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I thank you, Jason. I can also ask some questions just to kind of like walk you through my thought process around it as well, Monique, because these are, I think, helpful things to know. So first, I'm going to ask, okay, so I know you said $18 is a good cost per lead, but I would question that in a few ways. Well, at the end of the day, it's going to depend on your closing rate and your return on investment in total. But in order to know if that's actually a good cost, because you might be able to, if you're running your own Facebook ads, you might be able to generate them for significantly less than that. Even closer to half that, but it depends on where where you're getting the leads. So which areas are you getting leads in, and where are you licensed?
Are you talking to me? Sorry, my whole
Yes.
everything just
Yes, Monique.
fell apart, so I had to re-come into the call.
Yeah. Did you hear that?
Yeah, so I'm getting them for within 100-mile radius of where my targeted zip code,
100 miles.
and
And where
then
is that?
28562.
Okay, but like, which city is that?
Oh, New Bern, North Carolina.
Okay, North Carolina. So 100 miles of North Carolina. Okay, got it.
Yep. So it's 100-mile radius from that particular zip code, and then they're only sending me life insurance leads. Now it could be term or whole life, but it still is life insurance regardless. So it's targeted just solely on the life insurance.
Yeah. Okay, and then the question is like, what have your results been like that? So out of those leads, like how many are you?
I actually just
Closing.
started getting them this week. So I don't have a closing ratio yet, but I can tell you that of the 4 people that I've called, 2 of them have set appointments and the other 2 have not called me back yet. So that's about 50% on getting an actual appointment.
Okay, that sounds reasonable so far, but
Yeah.
the thing is, so I would say that right now, despite the cost per lead, that's just too small a sample size. Like you
Right,
really
yeah.
have to,
Like
I would say you need to go
just-
through at least like 50
Yeah.
leads before you
I
could
just
make
started
any
getting
conclusion.
them on Wednesday. So, and I would be happy to even, in a month from now, hop on the call and just let you know what the month has looked like versus just this 1 week.
Yeah. How many leads a week are you planning to get?
I'm getting 30 leads per week.
Okay. Yeah. So just, go through those leads for a couple of weeks. That'll be about $1,200, and then
Yeah.
see how it goes. Yeah.
Well,
really.
and the good part about it is this particular company has like a prepayment option.
Yeah.
So I'm paying $300. They're contributing $300. So that's how I'm getting the
Okay.
30 leads per week. So it really averages out to like $9 a lead, if that's what you want to call it.
For you, because they're covering part of the cost.
Yeah, so they match whatever you deposit in, they will match. So if you put $500 in, they'll match 500. Their leads are still 17.
Does that affect your commissions?
Do what?
Does that decrease your commission?
No, they don't ask for any commissions.
Okay. All right. So then the other question though about the lead quality is how recent are these leads?
So I get them same day. So when they fill out their information on their website, they send them out to whoever's buying the leads that same day. And it'll actually have a timestamp. This is kind of what it.
So you get an email?
I get it by email. And I don't know if you can see like the lead information.
How old is it? Because there's a lot of research that's been done that basically like if you can get back to a lead within the hour,
Yeah.
it's much better.
So they'll send it to me at, they received the information at 11:21 Central Time. So that's 12:21 Central Time. And they emailed it to me at 12:22. So I got it within 1 minute of them.
So that's real time.
Submitting
The only
it.
thing that would help you more than that, which is something we do, is set up text message notifications. So you get a text, because sometimes you're not checking your email all the time. But if you get a text message, that's the only, right now it's not a large enough sample to really say anything.
Yeah.
But that's the only thing that I would say. The cost could be good. Like the cost per lead seems decent, given you've got a small geography. if you were running ads across multiple states,
Mhm.
that $18 might be expensive.
Yeah, for sure.
But just because you have such a small geography, that 100-mile radius, that seems like a decent price. But yeah, but then I'm also a little bit skeptical, because you always have to know if they're charging you $18 and then plus this other stuff you're talking about, like there's got to be a markup, right? So that means it's costing even less for them to generate it. So I'd be skeptical in terms of what are they saying in the ad. Have you seen the ads that they use to generate the leads?
Yeah, they're on their website.
Okay, but you don't have real-time proof, because sometimes it might be on the website, but if they're actually using that all the time, because yeah, but again, it's too early to say. So
Yeah.
go ahead and give it a try, and feel free to reach out when you have some more numbers.
Yeah, I mean, I would be happy to, because if it can help somebody else in their area, and really actually be a beneficial lead, as opposed to like just cold leads that you're getting that are like, and then another thing that they do, because I've had a lady, they have a whole list of information they have to fill out. So you get their name, their address, their date of birth. You get a whole bunch of information that they have to fill out for it to even be a qualifying lead. And if you get a lead that says, I'm sorry, but I don't know what you're talking about, you can send it back to them within 10 days and they'll refund you your money for that lead and send you another lead in their place.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, definitely. 4 leads that you got, but yeah, let's see how it goes with the other.
Yeah.
It's a small sample size right now.
Yeah.
Okay. So does anyone else have any other questions, comments? It's 1:45 right now.
Yeah, so I just had one question, something that you guys had mentioned earlier about conversations when it comes to selling to a business. So I go to different businesses, and I was just wondering, sometimes they'll say, okay, I don't want to buy anything, but what we do is we don't sell anything to them. We just service them as a benefit to their employees. So I guess, is there like some way to kind of find a better phrase, or is there something that you to get away from the idea of I'm selling, or this is insurance, and they don't want to talk about it at that moment? Is there like something that would work out better to kind of formulate and have a better conversation?
Mhm. So yeah, let me get it straight. So your strategy is to go to businesses, and then what kinds of insurance are you trying to pitch to their employees?
So we do benefits voluntary, which is through their employer, and their employer doesn't have to pay us anything. They just we provide the service as to them to the employees, so they can choose if they want to participate in the policies.
Okay, awesome. Jason, do you have any experience with that sort of thing?
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like, so you're doing like, is that health or is that life insurance?
So we offer a whole product of health and life to the employees.
So yeah, I mean, not speaking specifically to that, because I haven't sold to businesses like you're doing. I mean, it's but what I would use as with a client is pretty much the same thing, is that you're there to educate them on the different benefits that are out there. And I always kind of steered it towards education rather than sales. And so when they would push back, I would say, I'm not here to sell you a policy. I'm just here to explain to you what the benefits are. And, if it works for you, great. If not, that's fine too. I imagine it would be similar, although I don't know the exact kind of words, that you use for your particular line of insurance that you're selling. But that's just kind of how I would approach it, is more educational.
Yeah, actually, that's great because I think that's something that I was kind of leaning more towards informing them and educating them as to some of the carriers that are out there versus the ones that we provide for them as well.
Yeah, and that's to me, when people would push back and kind of accuse you of selling something or
Mhm.
trying to sell something, then I would just fall back on that I'm not trying to sell you anything. It's just providing you with information, and that a lot of times that would kind of diffuse the protesting, and kind of the pushback that you get.
Yeah, because like a lot of the times they'll have a business, they'll say no soliciting. So I'm like, I'm not doing that.
Oh,
So
yeah.
So that's usually sometimes I'm at a 50-50. It's like, okay, should I enter or should I kind of
Oh,
move
okay.
in? Yeah.
So that's not a lead that you got. You're just
Yeah.
going door to door. Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a little bit different. But it probably would still work if you approach it like that.
Yeah, I think that I was thinking about it yesterday. I was like, I think it's the mentality of how I approach it, like you just mentioned, educating them. We're not there to sell. And in my mindset, if you were selling something, you would have mentioned that like within the first 30 seconds, this is how much it's going to cost you, which I don't even do that. I'm just there to educate them and inform what we do for them as a company.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, awesome. Any other really quick questions? We're probably going to wrap it up soon.
Hey,
But if anyone has something
B,
really quick. Hi.
B, whoever was just talking, I don't know, your little thing says B. Have you ever thought of going into the business and just asking them if you could do a lunch and learn?
So we do something like that where we actually will sit down with them. We don't really call it a lunch and learn, but we just set up a meeting with their administration or any owners or anyone individual that makes a decision when it comes to that.
Because you could address the owner and the decision maker or the manager or whomever and say, hey, listen, I would love to bring lunch and explain something to you guys about what we have to offer for you and your associates or employees or whatever they say. And a lot of people are really comfortable with getting like a free lunch, first of all, that doesn't really cost you too much. And you're not trying to sell them anything at that point because they feel like they're getting something for free already because they're getting lunch.
Yeah, actually, that's a great suggestion. So definitely, if I start going with a big fish, then I'm definitely gonna go with that plan.
Awesome. And yeah, what's your name? B?
It's Renee.
Renee. Okay.
Yes.
Renee. All right. Thank you for the question, Renee. All right. We're going to wrap it up as well. And I'm going to lead some links here in the chat window. And I just want to speak a bit about two things. So first of all, we've got a WhatsApp group that we created. So it's the last link that I shared here in the chat. So if you go to the bottom right corner of your screen, you'll see this conversation window. So you can click on that. And we have a WhatsApp group. So you can join that WhatsApp group. And Jason will add you in there as well. And then if anyone has follow-up questions and things like that, that's another place that you can continue the conversation. And then I'll tell you a bit more about what it is that we're doing. And this will be relevant to you in a moment too, Renee. So I'll come back to that. But we have a program that Jason and I are partnered on. I'm going to share my screen with you so you can see this. So we call it the Hypergrowth Insurance Accelerator. And there's a few components to it. The main component is that we are helping you to set up your own Facebook marketing system. And as well, we're giving you coaching and advice along the way. So that's what makes it a little bit unique. So it's different from lead vendors, first of all, in that you're getting your own Facebook marketing system. It's under your own name, your own brand, and everything. And so you have a lot more control over the process. And then as well, we have these conversations with Jason, similar to this, as well as myself, where we coach you on all different aspects of the business, topics like how to book more appointments, how to close more sales, and when you're ready as well, how to scale your business as well. And then recruiting is something that we've talked about, how to set your business up for an exit and whatnot. So a lot of different topics that we cover, and specifically as well, I'm working with our clients to coach them on the marketing aspects as well. What's kind of the thought process behind effective marketing, because marketing is really the lifeblood of this industry. So there's a page here. So there's a link. It's the second link in the list of 3 links that I sent you. And so you can go onto this page here and learn a bit more about it. And you can as well book a consultation to speak with us. So fill out this contact form, and then you'll go to this page where you can select a time to speak with me about this. So I can tell you a bit more about the program, how it works. It's a lot more affordable than you think to get set up. But I can walk you through that. And then the other thing we can do on that call, so, we'll talk a bit about your business and see what's working, what's not working. And so for you, Renee, or anyone else, I'd be happy to sort of role play with you and help you work on your script with you. So I know that was a question that you had. So maybe others might have similar sort of questions as well. What's working and what's not working in terms of your presentation. So that's something we could go through. So it's a consultation call. It's no obligation, and hopefully you'll get a lot of value out of it aside from just learning about what we're doing through this program and how to set up your own marketing system. I should probably note as well that it's not just a coaching program; it's hands-on. And that, we set you up with a digital marketer who's going to set up the ad system for you. And then you own it, right? So you can, starting next month or the month after that, it's yours. So you can keep working with a marketer if you want, or you can just take it on your own. So it's a good investment that way. You're not tied to a certain agency or lead vendor. And so I've had a lot of success, doing this lead generation and marketing for a lot of companies, some large carriers like Global Life, American Income Life, and as well as others. And yeah, so I've had a good experience with that. Any questions about that real quick? We don't have a lot of time.
No, sir. Thank you so much for everything.
Yeah, you're welcome, Roxanne.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we're going to wrap it up there. So just take note of those links. And we actually have, if anyone is going to book today, we have actually a special going on right now where we're going to actually waive the setup fee. So normally there's a setup fee to set up your Facebook ad. So we're actually going to waive that setup fee for anyone. So if you want to take advantage of that promotion, just go ahead and click the link today. So it's that first one here. No, it's the second one in the list of links here. I'll paste it again so it's clear for everyone. So this one here. So I have some time in my schedule for next week. So just go ahead and click that and find a time that works for you to talk. And as long as your contact information comes in, we can set you up. So then basically, you know, we just take a cut of what you end up spending on the Facebook ads. That's the way it kind of works. And then if you sign up now, we'll waive that setup fee for you. All right. So hope that was helpful for everyone. It's end of the hour now. Enjoy the rest of your day. Hope you have a fabulous weekend. And we'll have another one of these scheduled in 2 weeks from now on Thursdays. They're usually on Thursdays, 3 p.m. Eastern time. So hopefully we'll see you then for the next one.
Thank
Take care,
you.
everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay, bye-bye.
Thank you. Have a good day, everyone.
You too.